All right, well, welcome back, everyone. Thanks to Chili's for hosting us. It was actually a really lovely, lovely lunch and breakfast. We're going to start out by just kind of introducing the crew and having them talk a little bit about what they do.
Hello. Hopefully you guys are all full and ready and energized. I am Sharon Goldstein, and I'm with Icon International. And essentially what our company does is we're financial solutions, and we allow you to get more with your existing marketing budgets, whether you need to get more exposure, fund any premium initiatives, but working with us helps to expand those.
And I'm Andrew George. I am a senior media analyst at Toyota, and I oversee all of our media placements for about 7-8 products up under me, and that's from transcultural market to multicultural.
Okay, great. Aliya Ali. I work for Kenvue, which is a recent spin-off from the Johnson & Johnson consumer division. So under Kenvue, there's a lot of brands, household brands that you may be aware of, like Listerine, Tylenol, Aveeno, and I work on the Neutrogena team, and I lead the brand and global retail excellence teams encompassing 14 different categories.
And I'm Billy Appleton. I lead the sales for Doing Things in the Midwest region. Doing Things owns and operates over 40 of the biggest meme and viral content pages on Instagram, ranging from Middle Class Fancy and Moist Buddha and Transcam Paul to Overheard LA, Overheard New York, and Racist Therapy. So we really are like the pulse of cultural moments. So very excited to have this conversation.
Awesome. I think the group has lots of really great work to share. So we're going to start the conversation by just talking broadly about how you define cultural moments in terms of your role and your company. Andrew, we're going to start with you.
Sure. So to me, I think culture can also be equivalent to speed, right? How fast can a brand cement and integrate themselves in a cultural moment? Has anybody heard of Superman? Raise your hand. Cool. So, at Toyota, we had a unique opportunity to partner with Superman that's coming out tomorrow. And in that, we have over 30 products. So between Toyota and Lexus, we have 30 products. And we felt that this was a great cultural moment for us. And so not to give no spoilers, but check out this trailer.
Whoa, you're not Lois Lane. We're from the TV Planet, and we're borrowing her car to chase a lead. Guess these are for you, then. By the way, saw Superman flying towards Stern. Let's go. Superman was just here. What happened?
He got blown this morning. Already safe.
We're on it.
Oaks just said the monster's heading back towards the TV Planet. Let's hurry.
We're totally making a rep.
Maybe we should try.
Come on, man, let's go!
See the all-electric Toyota BZ and Superman only in dealers.
Thank you. So this movie will be in theaters tomorrow, and what we wanted to do is put our product, our new all-electric BZ, in with one of the top characters, Lois Lane, right? So we thought it was a good opportunity for us to be culturally relevant and to make the connection to show that Toyota is exciting and inspiring.
Awesome. Very exciting. Who's going to see Superman this weekend? Maybe. All right, let's start. Let's do Sharon next, then we'll hit Bailey after that.
So cultural moments are really a moment, right? It's a point in time that you need to react quickly to because it's not going to last forever. So there are times, for example, one of our clients visit Orlando, reacted to a moment that was happening. Who's familiar or has seen the viral Doug's Winter Party that happened in February of this year? it got millions and millions of views. So let me just set the story so you guys can follow along. But Doug is an 87-year-old man who rang his neighbor's doorbell, gave them a handwritten note to come over to his house for a winter party. And he said 4 p.m. until the cops come. And so he set that up, and it went viral because it got caught on her ring. And she posted about it, and she showed the invite. And everyone across the country wanted to go to Doug's winter party. And there were bars and there were locations all over the world that were having it. People were trying to get invited. So what happened was we found a moment to kind of be part of that joy and give via Visit Orlando, offer to Doug an all-expense-paid trip to Orlando to get out of the cold because it was in Philadelphia and it was winter. And and his whole party went live, and we were able to kind of tap into that moment and make that authentic connection and kind of that feel-good moment and really capture in on that. So that's like one example where maybe as a brand, you don't always have to be part of that situation, but a creative way to infuse yourself and think about how you can celebrate it.
Awesome. That sounds terrific. All right, Bailey, let's have your example.
First off, I want to be invited to Doug's next birthday party.
It's a big
Also, I wanted to start off with this. Who here follows Middle Class Fancy? Fun fact, our lovely host, Chili's, actually inspired the creation of that page. You'll notice our logo for Middle Class Fancy takes form after the Chili's pepper. And so, we facilitate driving brands into cultural moments. There's really two ways that we look at that. Brands come to us and, there are the more traditional tentpoles, like a sales driving moment, like, Halloween or Super Bowl that brands are investing significant budget towards. And then we can help amplify that. But really where doing things shines is through social moments. So these are really it's a more reactive approach, right? It's looking at every year, what are the conversations happening on social? And it's not necessarily talked about at a mass media level, like daylight savings time, losing an hour, tax refund season. Everyone's talking about, how they're spending their tax refund or how they're not spending it. So we really look at what's happening in culture and react to it. And oftentimes our company is setting those trends in social. So these are actually some great examples. The ones on the left, these two are memes from Middle Class Fancy. These are editorial content. So Chili's did not sponsor these memes. But Chili's as a brand is so endemic to our page and our humor on Middle Class Fancy. It really leans into suburban humor. So we are already talking about Chili's. It's kind of an inside joke all the time to our followers. So you can see the examples on the left. We look at things like Zendaya's hat. That just started trending again around May during the Met Gala when she decided to wear another very large hat. And then we talk about the Triple Dipper. Whereas for their branded content and how we partner with Chili's is really making sure that we're driving their assets and their messaging to life. And you can see the example on the left, it's really pretty basic, but it's taking a template of a timeline of the most important events in history, and we just put the Triple Dipper right up there. And then the one on the right, this is really fun, and this is actually, I think, speaks to reacting in real time. Chili's approached doing things was an opportunity to help amplify awareness of their Lifetime movie that came out, which Tay Diggs starred in. And, we're okay, well, we know our audience loves Lifetime. What can we do to make this feel relevant and get people who are as they're scrolling their feeds, start to see more memes about Chili's and Lifetime and what's going on. This meme actually went very viral on one of our pages, Ordinary People memes, where we take stock photos of people in the workspace and overlay just very stereotypical quotes. And this one, it was for the Lifetime movie, but we really work with brands in a very large capacity. But cultural moments for us really start with social.
Well, I think when we talked in our prep session, we talked about the fact that there are tentpole moments, and then there are also these really reactive moments where you're trying to be really quick, which brings us kind of to our next question. Responding to a real-time cultural moment can require a nimble, rapid-fire execution. Do you have any thoughts on how your team or other teams might be able to set themselves up to be able to react quickly? And I think we're going to start with Andrew on this one.
Yeah. So Monday, for example, was the movie premiere for Superman, and we actually had a team on ground capturing content that we were able to post directly to our social handles. And so, although that was kind of planned, there are opportunities where you can be a little bit more reactive versus proactive. But at Toyota, we typically like to take the proactive approach. So we plan things out thoroughly to ensure we're able to capture things live and be in moments and places where our target audience is.
And Andrew, I think you mentioned one time that you actually often at these events will have people on the ground to take footage and actually blast that out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we'll create a quick text chain to ensure that it's getting our approval, and everybody who's a stakeholder is getting eyes on the things that's going out. So yeah, we'll have a team on the ground capturing real life moments, loading it directly to the channels in faster approval time than we typically do.
So I actually skipped Aliya's question, so I missed her thing. So let's go back to her about how she defines cultural moments in her role in her company, and she has a video as well.
It's all good. So similar to what everybody else has said, the only thing I would add is that when we look at these moments, we're actually looking for the consumer shift in behavior. And that shift in behavior then gives us the opportunity to engage and contribute to the conversation. And that's a really meaningful point, is that we can't just go after a viral trend just because. It has to be purposeful and choiceful. So I'll give you an example. We have two trends happening for this campaign I'm going to share with you. One trend could be very core and dear to some of you, which is 90s nostalgia. There is a moment that we're facing right now where millennials are engaging or emotionally connected with their younger selves or what happened in the past. And you're seeing it in fashion, you're seeing it in beauty, you're seeing it in music. And this kind of nostalgic moments are being recreated, and Gen Z finds it fascinating and calls this retro cool, and I'm digging that. If anyone calls me retro cool, I take that as all right, I'm onto something. So there's one trend happening there. And then in our specific industry, in beauty, there is a trend that's happening right now around preventative skincare. So there's a lot of consumers right now trying to figure out how to preserve youthful, younger looking skin. So guess what? We have a perfect product that we would like to introduce that marries the two together. I'm going to let you see the clip, and then we'll talk about it.
This week on Neutrogena Remembers.
Will you marry me? Let's go.
If you remember these two, it may be time to start using Neutrogena Retinol Regenerating Cream. It can reverse 7 years of visible aging. Great skin. Oh,
Yeah, that's good. So the thing about aging is that right now, aging is actually not seen how it used to be seen, right? We're going through a moment where consumers want self-empowerment with their aging. They don't want to be told to that they can see their fine lines or wrinkles, especially when you have nostalgic millennials. So the best way to gently remind them about this type of prevention skincare is a gentle reminder, but do it in a way that is culturally relevant for their needs. So we've launched this social series, and it's super fun. We are doing it across different ways. This is just one way in, but if you remember fighting over the landline, it's time. So there's a lot of, if you remember taking the teen magazine quizzes, it's time. So there's a lot of different ways in for this social campaign, but we're doing it in a way that, excites the millennials and also helps our brand age down as well at the same time.
It seems like kind of a through line for all of us is relatability. And we do that in various ways. That's obvious. But, I understand now why a millennial like me would connect with the video that we just saw. For our memes, like middle class fancy memes, when we're talking about like grilling season and like going to Costco and doing a Costco haul, it's like all like very silly but relatable human truths that we just bring into like a fun social format. Even with like Superman, like that relatability of like that fandom is so strong. And I want to be at Bob's birthday or Doug's birthday, whatever. So, there's like that source of like, wow, you think about your own grandfather and you think about how like special he must have felt. And yeah, I think we all kind of look at culture through a similar lens, but have unique ways of approaching it.
Well, and Bailey, I know when we talked earlier, you were talking about how you guys are set up to be able to action quickly, and that you had like a bucket of 20 slots that you can fill and move on. You want to talk a little bit about that, just to kind of understand the setup?
Sure. So we have, I can disclose this, we have an upfront partnership with Conagra Brands. They have over 20 CPG brands in their portfolio. And essentially, the way that we work with them is like they'll have 35 meme credits a quarter, and they'll pre-plan some of those around like 4th of July and grilling season when their products are off the shelves and selling. But then they really like leave it up to us to say like what's trending, like what conversations, what formats are trending, and like how can we just align with like the moment rather than like coming after the fact. So a really good example is around Valentine's Day. That's when the conversation, I don't know who's a Pookie fan here, but Jet and Pookie were everywhere. You couldn't escape them. And instead of, really taking the traditional route of creating a meme for Ready Whip around Valentine's Day, we brought the dialogue of Pookie into it. And unfortunately, we don't have a visual, but that's really like the definition of agility. And like look at what matters like to consumers as they're scrolling right now. I think we'll see brands that come in a little too late. It has an adverse effect. And a good example of that is like a Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year, where like you see every brand now doing it, and you're like, a couple of years ago it was like really original, but now it's like, okay, what's the next thing? What's next Spotify Wrapped? And we want to help brands get ahead of that and create their own new version of a Spotify Wrapped-esque moment.
Yeah. And then Sharon, do you want to share how you all operate very nimbly?
Yeah, I think the goal is whatever, because we work with many brands, but the goal, and each brand has their own internal structure, but what I found works best is when brands get ahead of it in a planning scenario, no matter what the situation is. So they have a path and a process that takes it, and they have leadership approval. So if our product gets shown in a show, this is what we're going to be doing, and this is the budget that we're going to do to support it. And you get buy-in, and you get plans. These are the media outlets we're going to engage with our PR team to help amplify it. So I think getting ahead of those things, especially in big organizations where there's a lot of layers to get through in approvals, you don't get it bottlenecked, and you're being able to react quickly. So in the example of Doug's winter party, right, it was happening that next day, right? You don't have time to get everyone's approval. So the idea is to set a playbook in advance that says, here's the 5 or 6 most liked scenarios of where we we have opportunities to really take advantage of a moment, especially the unexpected ones. And this is how it would play out. Get, your leadership's approval and buy-in on that situation, what we're going to be invested in. And then when the ideas come to life and the opportunities serve themselves up, you're then able to flip the switch and execute. So those are kind of best practices that have been most successful for brands to be able to get in and take advantage of those moments.
I have one quick build because I actually think this is very top of mind. We are partnering with a brand that is going to be releasing a pumpkin spice fragrance in this coming Q3. And the entire thesis of this campaign is can they announce it before Starbucks does or that Dunkin' does? Because every year, the pumpkin spice release date becomes earlier and earlier and earlier to the fact where it's we're in the middle of summer right now and talking about pumpkin spice. So they're actually taking the humor in that and leaning in. So I think there's ways to reinvent trends from the past and put your own spin on it. So now pumpkin spice season starts July 1st.
Aliya, do you have anything to add there?
The other thing I would say is making sure that you connect with different types of moments because it's really good for testing. So we are a traditional CPG brand. Our marketing methods are very standard. We know exactly how to engage with an audience, what type of audience to go after, what type of platforms. It's pretty standard. It doesn't take a lot of creativity. In fact, AI could probably do this tomorrow for us. But one thing that we are moving towards, and it's hard when you're a traditional CPG brand, but one thing that we are trying to do now is to do exactly what you said. Go after viral trends and do it quicker. Get in front of the planning process and anticipate the trend before it's a trend. And I'll give you a really good example of something that we are testing and doing now. So we see trends through different sources, just as you guys would. TikTok Insights is an example, right? And we see what consumers are searching for with different algorithms for Google or whatnot. So we started seeing glass skin start trending or glazed donut skin. Some of you are looking at me like, what is she saying? But if you don't know, start searching because you'll see it very quickly. But it's this idea of how do you get in front of a trend like that? How could a traditional brand like Neutrogena get in front of glass skin or donut glaze skin? So we sit there and we ponder a lot and then we don't do anything because we're like, is it on our equity? Is it on brand equity? Would our dermatologists support this? Would millennials care about this? And we talk to ourselves over and over again, and then we don't do anything. This time we actually did something about it. And it wasn't a product innovation launch. It was nothing like that. It was, we have this beautiful platform that already exists. It's a decade old. It's called Hydro Boost Moisturizer. 10 years ago, this ingredient of hyaluronic acid in the mass market was a foreign language. People did not know what hyaluronic acid was. We introduced it, and now if you go to a CVS today, you'll find 100 of these products. Same. Nothing special. But we see this glass donut trend, and we're like, we got to do something because this product is all about that. It's about supple, hydrated, dewy skin. It's gorgeous, and it is worth it to be put on your shelfie. So what do? So we ask our CEO, we want to go a little rogue and break our traditional marketing mold, break our traditional celebrity model. We want to go younger. Well, how young? We want to go younger. We want to go after Gen Z. This platform's not meant for Gen Z, but we can be. It can be because there's a trend right now because they're the ones researching these types of ingredients and this trend is happening. So a lot of internal BS, but we got around the red tape and offered a creative solution. What was the creative solution? It was music. Our cultural moment was music. Because here's the thing about music. Music is multifaceted with culture. It goes hand in hand. We just have to figure out the right music artist. In our case, it was Tate McRae. Tate is the epitome of a Gen Z icon in a sense that her values, her lifestyle, her beliefs is very core to this proposition. So we entered with Juicy Skin, Juicy Secret, anything with the word juicy, because juicy is the next dewy skin. So we took glazed donut and we brought juicy into the fold. And I want to show you a clip of what it looks like now.
I can't believe my mom applied K to my text. With a period. Are my 5 morning alarms a metaphor for everything else I'm putting on? What have I done to deserve K? Like my 768 unread texts.
I'm just your dermatologist.
769.
But it sounds like you don't want all of this showing up on your face. Try Hydro Boost. It formula magnifies the power of hyaluronic acid for juicy, deeply hydrated skin.
Okay. Sorry. Neutrogena. Daily hydration that goes deep.
So we found a way in. We launched this 1 billion in impressions day one. It went viral. And we actually got to convince the organization that there are times and moments where we can participate in trends. We just have to do it with our own brand ethos still in mind and still be able to engage in a conversation worthy of having. So I'm really, really excited about this launch.
Okay, and our third question, this is, it could be your brand or another brand you admire. Can you highlight an example that responded real time to a cultural moment and created viral engagement or increased customer loyalty? And we're going to start with Sharon.
Okay, so I talked about Winter Party with Doug and how that was kind of a moment that didn't really involve the brand, but they woven themselves into it. This opportunity is with David's Bridal. So it's another client of ours where they had a moment that involved one of their products. So there is a show on Hulu called Only Murders in the Building, and Selena Gomez was wearing in one of the ends of the shows a wedding dress, and it happened to be a wedding dress from David Bridal. So they were not aware of this prior to everyone else seeing it. So they had to react quickly. So they quickly, worked with different partners to make sure that it was easy to find on their website, easy accessible. They amplified it with social media, created PR buzz around it. But I think what was most interesting about all of this is later on. So that was in 2023. Later on, guess who got engaged in December? Selena. So they brought that image back and they put it on their Instagram and they said, "Congratulations to our princess." And they showed her in the dress again. And that reignited that look, that feel, and again, created the whole buzz about people searching for the dress. And it was obviously very connective. So kind of the lesson there is if you have moments that are viral, keep hold of those in like your treasure box because they could be relevant to resurface again. And at any point in time makes sense for you to kind of connect back with your audience. So that was a really good moment that they took advantage kind of twice of the same information and same image.
A little redeploy.
Yes.
Interesting. All right, Andrew.
Yeah, I think a brand that created a viral moment, Beach by Dre. So we know the movie Straight Outta Compton, right? And, as they were looking to promote the movie, there was a genesis moment a thesis that they were trying to solve. And that was that we're all straight out of somewhere, right? So you saw this straight out of whatever take off, right? You had Little Leagues talking about we're straight out of whatever the team's name. It was that viral moment that connected everyone together. And I think the conclusion of that was that we're all out of straight of somewhere that makes us uniquely who we are. And as marketers and brands, that's something that's needed for us all to bring our shared experiences together to make our brands better.
Yeah, awesome. I remember somebody said earlier today that your customers need to see themselves in your brand. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would say how we keep up is we talk a lot to our communities. Your communities are super and can be super powerful. At Neutrogena, one of our biggest communities are the dermatologists. So we're constantly talking to them about what are they seeing from their patients, like what are their patients complaining about constantly, what do they find valuable, what type of ingredients would they recommend for certain types of concerns, and also getting them to test things with us. You can see here both campaigns, if you notice, there was a derm, just a different way of bringing in the spin of the derm back. So I would say know who your communities are and find ways to engage with them constantly, because they are your eyes and ears in the industry, whatever industry you're in. So find time to connect with them and listen when they talk. That's the other part is you may have a perceptive of your brand, but sometimes they're actually a lot closer to your consumer than you are. And so pay attention.
This is, I think two great examples of a brand that has responded very quickly, very with agility. Kraft Heinz first, Heinz ketchup last year. I believe it was last year when Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce started dating. There was a paparazzi photo of her eating what was seemingly ranch and ketchup with her chicken tenders, and that went viral. This idea of seemingly ranch. So they literally latched on the moment. They created within a week a seemingly ranch limited edition Heinz collab, and it went beyond just a stunt. Their entire social feed, everyone felt like we're in on this joke with you, and we actually worked with them to help bring that messaging, bring the actual ownership of Heinz into the conversation to life on social. The second one is with Heinz as well, but for Heinz mustard. When Kendrick Lamar dropped his very successful album, everyone really learned at a mass level the DJ Mustard's tagline, which is mustard, and immediately, literally the next day, Heinz rebranded their entire portfolio of mustard products on shelf and social to just say mustard. Then they contracted DJ Mustard to be in their commercials, but they took this DJ callback in a song that went viral and owned it. So I think any brand can do it, but it's how quickly you respond to it is what really makes it effective and authentic.
Awesome. Great answer. So little closing fun educational fact. So, we all try and keep up on trends. We have lots of, big brands have agency help. We're always, getting decks on trends, but personally, we as marketers are supposed to be watching for those things too. So what is something that you as a marketer, you either watch or you monitor, or you just enjoy to keep a pulse on things that might be important to your audiences? So let's go with Andrew.
I always say experience is the best teacher. So me personally, I put myself in environments and experiences that are not of my culture, right? So last year I had the opportunity to go to a content shoot that our Innovators, which is our Asian American agency, put together. And so at that shoot, we were filming some content with Zach King, who was a big YouTuber. And so afterwards, the team asked, "Hey, do you want to, try some Asian American food?" But it was very, they said it was more authentic than what you can get in the U.S. So I was like, yeah, sure. And I think that experience alone kind of tapped me into the culture just a little bit, right? So I think experiences and opportunities to put yourself in environments that you're not familiar with, that you're uncomfortable with, that makes you a well-rounded marketer.
Okay, Sharon.
So I think it depends on what your industry is and what category you're in and where you kind of go for it. But I think it can live anywhere. So I think social is obviously one of the first platforms. Of course, Google. You can look at what trends are searching, what words have increased over time. You can also, look across many other ones. For example, just staying on brand with David Bridal, right? They look, and we work a lot with Pinterest, right? Because that is the first source of inspiration. So we work very closely with a lot of media partners to understand what trends they're seeing across, not only the typical search engines, but also within that. Great other things are, I'm going to say it again. We should play a game later. Whoever says AI has to take a drink. Happy hour. But I think that the goal is that we look at even AI, like where, that is also becoming one of the bigger search engines and place for discovery. So also kind of leveraging all the tools and resources, but understanding your audience and where they go for inspiration, because that's kind of where you're going to start to seed what's trending, what's popular. We use it a lot to help David Bridal, for example, merchandising, like what dresses, what color is going to be the new color for bridesmaids, what's themes, what style. We actually inform them and their merch team to maybe take the collection of colors that they already have and start featuring those in the ads, right? It's a little late to try to get them to create stuff, but trying to figure out what should be most relevant. So we work a lot with our partners in that space.
Aliya?
I would say definitely social listening, social sentiment. We also look at social sentiment for the globe as well. So what is actually trending in Asia, because that's actually really important for our industry. So we pay a lot more attention to global social trends, social listening trends there. Because our industry is, consumer packaging goods, we can see a lot of the trends as well, and just by doing retail visits. We don't get out to stores as often as we should. Many of us, or most of us, probably at this point shop a lot online. And that also, the digital journey is important to do. So one of the things that we do internally at Neutrogena is we do have quarterly retail and digital safari checks. So we go out there and we will walk like even a Nordstrom, we will walk Ulta's, we will walk Sephora's, and we will see what is out there. We will talk to beauty advisors and dermatologists and pharmacists. So I think being boots to the ground, whatever that means for your industry, is really important, and also doing it the same for the digital environment. So product search pages, as an example, and how do you scroll other competitive sites, and what do you look for above and below the fold? And so making sure that you have your pulse digitally as well, I think is super relevant and important.
So we'll finish up with Miss Bailey.
Yeah, I know we have like 45 seconds left. Okay. But, our company is very unique because we really are setting the trends that you guys are finding online. But we have in-house meme creators, like people who live and breathe meme culture, who are experts at what we do. And they've, set the tone for certain communities, like within our middle-class fancy community, like grilling is like an inside joke. Within Overheard, it's more of like a snarky, like overheard comments or like something about like your lifestyle. But really, like I was talking to Edward, who's here. He's our creative director, and he like really helps bring brands and memes together so that it makes sense for our pages. It's like we get into subreddits, like we look at the weird stuff, like what is like
The weird stuff. The weird stuff.
Yeah.
Make a retinol meme, buddy.
Yeah. It's like literally like going into subreddits, like, and going down a rabbit hole, find like a really niche weird thing, and then like bring light to it. Yeah, and me personally, I follow a page on X called Pop Crave, and they have like constant facts about like album releases, movies. But for me, it's like more interesting because when I look at the imagery, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is such a good meme. Like JoJo Siwa like released her cover of Betty Davis Eyes, and I'm like, oh my god, we're getting this before we're getting GTA 6. Like, what's going on? So you start to think like a lemur. But yeah, I don't know if anyone knows what I'm referencing, but.
Awesome. Well, I think we are probably at time for question. Time. Well, thank you guys very much for lots of interesting takeaways. Thanks.